So good morning and welcome to our first Breakfast with Mike of 2024. And I'm always intrigued to see the differences that people say they're going to bring up. Oh, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change that. I'm going to change this. And they don't change anything. And I don't know why that is, because the only constant in our business is change. The one thing that is always happening. We're always getting changes. So the question is, why aren't we changing? Why are the top producers changing and adapting and the others are looking for the magic pill? I don't know. I don't know why. But I do know that over the years, there were a number of things that I did at the beginning of the year, not necessarily always on January 1st. I'm not a huge believer that one day in your life could make all that change. But it's a time frame that we use. Some people give out awards based on the January 1st to December 31st. So for whatever reason that you choose, January 1st seems to be the target date. And I've told people this before. A lot of times, December was my best month. There were many, many years where December was my best month. I think part of that reason was a lot of other agents were pretty much out of business. They start vacationing back around Thanksgiving. And if you look at the way people put out Christmas lights, I think it's a good indicator to what realtors do. Used to be lights didn't go out till Thanksgiving. And I don't mean out in front of your house. I mean, you couldn't buy them. And then it was Halloween. And now it's even before that, it's like, let's start here. Wait, put your lights out now. Oh, wait, I just took mine down. I should have left them up for next year. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous. And the same thing is true in real estate. It's gotten ridiculous. There are certain things that we can do and that we should do every year. So let me go through 4 that I've picked up along the way. Number 1, I call it resurrect the dead. I know, might be a little morbid, but it's what we want to do. And what I'm talking about here is every one of you that's been around for any length of time, you've got people that have already called you. You've got leads. Call them whatever you want. Old leads, dead leads, office leads. Call it whatever you want. I don't care. But for whatever reason, you let that lead go. You didn't follow up. Well, one of the things that I used to do was I would recall those leads. I would take another shot at them. Anybody that I'd had any contact with in the past couple months, I recalled them. I know you called a while back. I'm just curious. Did you find a house? I know you called a while back. I'm just curious. Did you decide when you're going to sell your house? Whatever it is, buyer or seller, I called them all. Now, before I give you the number, I want you to know that, there's a study out there that says 95% of all statistics are made up. I don't know if you knew that. 95% are all made up. So with that in mind, 10% of those dead leads, I would resurrect. I don't know if it was 10% or not. I have no idea. I just know that I always picked up somebody. Something changed. And one of the truths about our business is it's always changing. So somebody who you talked to last month or the month before has had a change. And they might be ready to move now. But they're not going to call you, so you better call them. So that's number 1. We call it resurrect the dead, and the idea is we're regenerating some of those old leads. Number 2, implement one new system. For those of you that have been in the business a while, you've got a list of systems that you've brought back from conventions, from seminars. New Jersey just had triple play. I've talked to a number of agents. I picked up so many good ideas. Good. Pick one and implement it. Pick one new system and implement it. Now, for those of you that have not been to any seminars or stuff like that, there's so much stuff that is posted on Facebook and LinkedIn right now that you've said to yourself, I might try that. Pick one. Everybody that says to me what they're planning to do this year, everybody, the next sentence out of my mouth is always, great. What are you going to change? No matter what anybody has ever said to me about the following year or the following month, same sentence every time. Great. What are you going to change? Why? Because if you don't change anything, well, nothing changes. You know, definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Change something. Well, Mike, what if it doesn't work? Then can it? Give it a month. And if it doesn't work, if it's not making you a profit, move on. Go find something else. Odds are, if I were to ask anybody on this call who's been to seminars, how many ideas you've got that are kind of sitting in the queue, waiting for you to try, you've got dozens. Pick one. Give it a shot. If it doesn't make you a profit, get rid of it, try something else. If we're looking to increase income, we need to make some changes. One of the changes that I brought up was that block of 25, the 25 people around you, to your right, to your left, get to know them. You know what's interesting? I did some research. I can't find one trainer who talks about get to know your block of 25. To me, that's like, that was so simple because I didn't even think about it. I just did it. I never even thought about training it. I don't know why, because I did it. Why doesn't anybody train it? I don't know. Number 3, this is a big one. Call all your vendors and get a referral from them. Ask for it. We've talked before about having a vendor list. Plumbers, electricians, mortgage people, title people, attorneys, landscapers, septic people, water people, whatever comes up, furnace, whatever comes up, that you should have 1 or 2 of each one. Most top producers have 2. I had 2. And I'll never forget this one lady that called me up. She said, my furnace went out. I didn't know who she was. I said, okay, how can I help? Because that's just the way I was. She goes, well, the problem is we've got a home warranty on it, but we can't find the number to call them. So I said, okay, what do you know what the company was? And she said, yeah, and it was one of the companies that I use. So I said, okay, let me get back to you. And I called them up and I had them go out, and long story short, they couldn't fix the furnace, so they replaced it. And about a week or 2 later, I called them up and I said, just out of curiosity, I was just trying to follow up, see how things went. She said, oh, great, we got the new furnace and everything's fine and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I said, I got to ask you a question. She said, what's that? I said, am I missing something? I mean, how do I know you? Because I didn't know. And she went, oh, I'm sorry. We bought one of your listings. And I said, oh, that's great. Why didn't you call the agent who you bought it through? She said, we can't find them. We can't find them. What I've been teaching you for many years is staying in touch with your core people. Some of you still don't buy into that. I don't know why. It's the same thing top producers have been telling us for 30 years. But here was a situation, I didn't even know these people, and they called me. Now, by the way, I started getting referrals from them almost immediately. And even though I never did sell their house, I got a lot of business from that. And all I did was, I was there, I was present. Think about all of your vendors. Here, don't raise your hand on this. Do not raise your hand. How many of you have had a deal fall apart because of a vendor you didn't know? Don't raise your hands, because I already know all your hands would be up, mine included. Why does that happen? Because we, as agents, don't do what top producers have been doing for many years. You see, we're told, no, you shouldn't do that. You should let the buyer go pick their own. That way there's no liability. Top producers have been given the names of vendors for as long as I've been in the business. Why is it okay for them and not for everybody else? I don't know. We're so scared of everything. There are people on this call right now. If I turned around and I said, do you have a mortgage person? They'd say, yep. Do you have an electrician? They'd say, yep. You have a plumber? They'd say, yep. There are also people on this call, if I ask the same questions, they would say, well, I kind of let my client decide. Well, if you want to see deals fall apart, keep letting your clients decide. Because the chances are the people you refer them to are people you've had successful closings with. Nothing annoys me more than to see a home inspector write a book about the inspection where they nitpick every little thing. Anybody who's ever owned a home knows there's always going to be a to-do list around the house. Always. Those are not major problems that should be fixed by the seller before closings. Sorry, get over it. You're not entitled to everything. Now, if it's a major problem, should it be fixed? Absolutely. But if it's not, call it a to-do list. And my home inspectors knew that. And I never had anybody call up and complain about it. No, I take that back. I did have one. And I ended up in court over it. Because this one couple decided to put in this one-piece shower tub thing. And when they took out the old one, there was water behind the old walls. The shower faucet had started leaking. There was no way to tell when it started leaking. And I don't know a home inspector out there that's going to take the walls down so they can see if it's leaking during the inspection. That doesn't happen. But I ended up in court. They sued me. They sued everybody. When I got in court, the judge said, what are you doing here? I said, I don't know. I was told to be here. And he looked at them and said, why'd you bring him in here? What did he do? And the couple said, well, the attorney said, sue everybody. So the judge looked at me and went, see you later, Mike. Because he knew who I was and knew I didn't have anything to do with it. So anyway, get referrals from your vendors. Many of my students have said this. They don't get referrals from their vendors and they keep using them. This is not a one-way street. Ask for them. And then number 4, what was number 1? I forgot. Oh yeah, resurrect the dead. And number 2, implement one new system. Number 3, get referrals from your vendors. And number 4, I call it small goals, small rewards. It's very difficult to look out and see where we're going to be by December 31st. And yet we do it all the time. Every year we set up a yearly goal. And yeah, I did too. I just didn't pay as much attention to it as a lot of other people. I set small goals and gave myself small rewards for hitting them. For example, I might say, okay, I'm going to go on 10 listing appointments this month. And if I did, I would take Karen out to dinner or something. Small goal. I can do this month. I can go on 10 this month. And then give yourself a reward. But that's not what most realtors do. I watch them on Facebook. They're going to the Bahamas and they're going here and they're going there. And then I look them up. They haven't closed 5 deals for the year, but they're rewarding themselves. Why should you reward yourself for failure? Help me understand that, because I don't get it. Oh, well, I had to plan it in advance. Well, you could have planned your listing appointments in advance too, couldn't you? You could have planned your buyer appointments in advance too, couldn't you? I remember one of the goals that I set was a trip to Disney for the kids. And I told them all about it. I said, this is what's going to happen. If I do this, we're going. It's funny what happened when you involve your kids, because every time I'd come home, one of my kids would say, did you hit your goal today, Dad? Because they knew that if I hit it, they were going Disney. And if I didn't, they didn't know. Now, did I have to pay for all that in advance? Yep, sure did. Would I have blown it off if I didn't hit my goal? Well, we'll never know. But the funny part about it is, if you set small goals like that, you'll hit them. People go out and buy a new car. Do you know why they make the payment? Because they don't want anybody coming to take the car away. So they'll do whatever they got to do to make sure they've got enough to make the payment. If you knew and believed that you were going to lose your house if you didn't go on a certain number of appointments this month, what would you do? What would change in your life? My guess is you'd be so focused to make sure that you hit it. So why don't we? Because we don't believe in the penalty. We don't believe there are any repercussions for us not hitting our goal. If you were working a 9-to-5 job and the boss said, this is what you need to do, and you didn't do it month after month after month after month after month, what would eventually happen? They'd fire you. And because you believe that, you'll do exactly what you need to do. A lot of times you won't do any more, but you'll do just what you need to do so they don't fire you. Why? Because you need the money. So why don't you do what you need to do in real estate? Oh, I'll get to that tomorrow. I'll do that next week. And then what happens? Tomorrow comes and goes and you say it again, and next week comes and goes and you say it again. If you want to know what separates the top producers from the people who want to be, this is it. They put urgency into their plan. What were those immortal words for Apollo 13, which, by the way, the words that were said in the movie were not said in real life? Failure is not an option. That was not said in real life. But it made for a great headline in the movie, didn't it? Failure is not an option. If you want 24 to get off to a good start, let's start by making some changes. Number one, resurrect the dead. Go back into those old leads. I guarantee you will find somebody whose plans have changed again and will appreciate the fact that you followed up. Number two, implement one new system. You've got so many that you've picked up. And by the way, if you haven't, ask somebody who has. They'll tell you. Number three, vendor referrals. Call your vendors, get referrals. If they're not willing to refer you, maybe you need to reconsider whether or not you should still be doing business with them. Because there are plenty of people who are really good at their job and will help you out as well. And then number 4, small goals, small rewards. Set yourself some small, attainable goals and give yourself a reward for hitting it. Don't reward yourself for not hitting it. Remove the option to fail. Go hit it. You'll feel better about it, and you'll reset another one. I hope this has been helpful. I'm going to turn off the recording and let these guys throw some questions at me. Wish you were here. Maybe next time. Let's see. There is that.